So the first thing, one reader, in the industry, we have what's called a log line, which is kind of a one sentence summation of what they feel the story is about. So they, when part of their coverage, they will write a log line. So this is the log line from one reader. A young father must choose between the straight and narrow religious lifestyle of his family or the more exciting but dangerous street life of a drug dealer. So that's how this person,
Mm,
and in this case, I'll go ahead and tell you that
mm,
we're referencing Caleb here, the main
mhm,
character of Caleb. All right. So this is how one person sees it. Another reader presents this log line. After an injury sidelines his professional basketball dreams, a young man turns to a life of crime and drug dealing to support his family. So that's how this particular person kind of sums up the whole story. All right. Here is one person's comments about the story. Overall, this is what they write. Life or Death is a crime drama that attempts to blend two seemingly unmatchable genres, urban and religious. And that's interesting in itself because in a way, you seemingly unmatchable, I think is pretty accurate. While most religious stories that attempt to depict the problems with street life fail to adequately present the hard-edged lifestyle, Life or Death actually succeeds in making the crime world feel authentic. And I'm glad they wrote that. I'm glad they're seeing that because as I mentioned in one of the previous live streams, for me, it's very personal. I think you guys heard me talk about I believe it was on your show, Uncle Stu. We were
Mhm.
talking about how we have a lot of our young people, especially our young brothers, who find themselves in these situations where they are, pulled into the streets, I like to say, for from different reasons. These are young people and they've got a lot of different reasons why they're doing it. And the street life, we can't act like the street life ain't here. It's definitely here. And we got more
yeah.
young brothers than we care to either admit, maybe some of us even recognize, who turn in that direction because they see it as the only way they can do basic things like feed their family. You know what I'm saying? Just the fundamental things, just to get by. Okay, I'm gonna keep it going. Um, so a different reader, wrote their perspective on the title. Life or Death is a very good title, effectively bridging the two seemingly incompatible genres of the urban crime drama and the religious film. With with either genre, individually, this title would work well. But with this hybrid crossover approach, it works even better. That was what they think about it. And I feel like that's very accurate too, for a lot of different reasons. And we'll get into the significance of the title as we get into the story. But I think that observation was accurate. I'm gonna keep going. All right, this particular one is a little bit longer. But again, if we want to talk about what is life or death, then I want people to know this is what I want. I want people to know what we're getting into here. All right, life or death is a particularly risky property, is what they say. With its gritty, edgy depiction of a life of crime, it threatens to put off religious viewers, and with its heavy religious tones, it could repel audience of the urban crime dramas. The fact that those things could happen makes this script somewhat dangerous. But more important is the fact that the opposite could happen. It could potentially be a wildly successful crossover venture, effectively bringing two large markets together. That possibility makes Life or Death a potentially very lucrative gamble should a producer with the inclination to roll the dice be found for it. Since it is at its core a gamble, that's what this person thinks. However, everything else about it needs to be spot on perfect. And the author could improve his odds greatly by restructuring the script to completely remove the nonlinear timeline and the chapter system. I'll talk about that after I read this, which do little to help the story and quite a bit to hurt it. While this script is getting a pass here, it is only because it needs another draft. The main characters are strong and much of the dialogue powerful. In fact, the writing here is excellent, so I'm giving the script consider for the writer. The structure needs to be taken care of. However, before Life or Death is able to become the marketable script it could and should be. Now, let me just say, without getting too deep into what they were talking about there, is I took that advice for what we're doing here. That particular advice of telling this story in a non-linear fashion. I had my reasons for it, but I really considered that and thought it completely through, and I'm going to take that person's advice for a lot of reasons, and you guys will see that coming up. So so that's part of the reason why we have, experienced readers kind of read these things. Some things they mention and critique, you understand where they're coming from and you kind of hold to what you think your vision is. And then sometimes you get critiques that you feel is valuable, that's going to be helpful. And of course you better be open to receive the critiques that people are making if you think it's going to make your work stronger. All right. All right, so that one was long. I'm gonna finish this up. Again, this is me trying to be very thorough with letting everybody know what this story is about. We got two more, and then I'm gonna open it up for any comments. So we had someone right here about what they felt like the premise and marketability of the premise was about. All right, and this was personal. They wrote this directly to me. I think you managed to achieve most of the concerns that you listed on your entry form. I did feel that your story was very realistic and insightful, and think that it does reach out across cultures. People go to the movies, and remember this was started out as a film script, as I've told you, because they are primarily interested in stories about the human struggle and human condition. You've hit a universal note in that it's part of the human condition to struggle between doing what's right and doing what's easy and not necessarily good. You say you want the subject matter to be unflinching, but not vulgar or gratuitous. While I found your opening very gritty and enormous intent, one thing and then I cut it off because they were going too deep into it, and they would start telling them what the story is going on. So here, I just want to really point out here what I like about this critique is that it's acknowledging that this central struggle here, and it's saying that I did a good job of making sure that it's prevalent of doing what's good versus doing what's easy, and making the right choices versus making choices that are easy or even choices that you know you shouldn't be making. That is part of a central theme when it comes to the story that we're telling. All right, and you'll see that play out. And then I'll read this last one, and then I can open this up for anybody. Commerciality. This is someone else commenting on how commercial they think this concept might be. Scripts, religious themes, and sermonizing combined with well-written street scenes make an interesting mix. Frankly, the reader, that's the person who's reading this, is unsure as to the commercial potential here because this is indeed an unusual combination. However, the reader believes that if the story works, then this genre melding could actually be a big plus for the writer. In short, commercial potential could be strong with certain producers if the writer is able to address some of the issues discussed herein effectively. All right, so then you have a different writer kind of acknowledging this dual thing that I'm trying to do with this story. Obviously, I feel like I'm going after it. I feel like this is something that I think has the potential to hit a lot of people where they are, change or at least influence people positively, and be something that a lot of people, will pay attention to and be affected by. Of course, that's why I'm doing it. So as we move forward with the way that we're doing it now, as opposed to a film, I think that in an interesting way, this has an opportunity to really get that power out. Because when we do these episodes, we're not going to just have these episodes, do them. We're going to rehearse them, and then we're going to have them, and we'll put them out there in a live environment. But we're leaving the channels open. So right after we finish with what we do, we're opening it up for the audience to then call in and have an immediate sort of back and forth dialogue with the creators, that's myself as well as you all, to talk about what it is that they've seen and how it affected them, and whether or not a character, Courtney, your character might do something that like, okay, that's my character. I wouldn't do it quite like that, or maybe you would do it exactly like that character, but you have an opportunity as an actor and a fellow creator in the process to offer whatever your insights are about the story and about your character, and that's across the board, and really just leaving it open for everybody to connect. What's so cool about it is that when we go to a movie or we see these movies or we watch things at home, we are in our own little box, so to speak, and we receive things how we are. But when you collectively can all watch something, then I think we all have and it opens up an opportunity to collectively share either experiences or think insights that like your neighbor would not have necessarily thought of. But for, hey, now, boom, it's open. You're asking the director, you're talking to the people who are creating it and saying this is what we're doing. So this is part, and this is not just that part, but everything else, the acting side of it. We're gonna have people who, are gonna want to ask questions about the nuts and bolts. What's the approach that you're taking towards fulfilling the character? What's the reason why you wrote this way, and those kinds of things. So it's just gonna be wide open for the interactivity as we go episode to episode as we unveil the story.